The marketplace on Station Kelver 9 hummed with the usual chaos of 100 species bartering, shouting, and scheming. Commander Arya Voss sat at a corner table in the food court, her attention fixed on the datapad before her. The reports from the Outer Rim conflicts required her signature, and she had exactly 14 minutes before her transport departed for the next sector. Beside her chair, barely reaching her knee, sat Tovin. The Xerath cub was no larger than a terrier, his silver fur still downy with youth, his 3 eyes blinking independently as he watched the crowd with predatory curiosity. His species, apex hunters from the death world of XR7, were feared across 12 systems. Adults stood 8 feet tall with claws that could shred titanium plating. But Tovin was barely 6 months old, abandoned at a refueling station 3 weeks ago, and Arya had made the mistake of feeding him. He'd followed her ever since. "Stay close," Arya murmured, without looking up from her work. Her voice carried that peculiar flatness that humans used when concentrating on multiple tasks simultaneously, a trait that unnerved most species. How could they think about several things at once and still function? Tovin chittered softly, a sound of acknowledgement, and pressed closer to her boots. The marketplace was neutral ground, theoretically protected by station authority. But theory and practice diverged frequently in the lawless stretches between civilized space and the frontier. Arya knew this. She'd spent 8 years navigating these gray zones, first as a Marine, now as an independent contractor for the Galactic Mediation Corps. She was nearly finished with the 3rd report when she felt that subliminal shift in air pressure, the infinitesimal change in ambient sound that marked predatory intent. Arya's hand never stopped moving across the datapad. The pirate materialized from the crowd like a shark through murky water. Krelian, by the look of him 7 feet of chitinous armor and bad decisions, his carapace decorated with stolen military insignia. 3 of his 4 arms carried visible weapons. The 4th reached down and seized Tovin by the scruff of his neck. The cub yelped, a high-pitched sound of surprise and pain. "Xerath pup," the Krelian rasped, his translator rendering his clicking speech into galactic common. "Fetch good price on Delvros markets. You lucky I take quick. Human. No need for." He didn't finish the sentence. Arya's left hand shot out without her gaze ever leaving the datapad. Her fingers closed around the Krelian's reaching arm, the one holding Tovin with the casual precision of someone plucking fruit from a tree. Then she squeezed. The sound was extraordinary. Not a single crack, but a cascading symphony of breaks, radius, ulna, carpals, metacarpals, phalanges, each bone giving way in rapid succession like dominoes made of calcium and hubris. The Krelian's exoskeleton, designed to withstand plasma fire, crumpled under the pressure of her grip like aluminum foil. The pirate's shriek cut through the marketplace din. Arya still hadn't looked up. "You're in my light," she said, her tone carrying the mild irritation of someone interrupted during important work. She released his arm, now hanging at an anatomically impossible angle, and made a small shooing motion with her fingers. Tovin, freed from the Krelian's grip, scurried back to Arya's side and resumed his position by her boots. The pirate stumbled backward, cradling his ruined arm, his translator struggling to keep pace with the volume and pitch of his howling. His 3 companions, who'd been waiting in the crowd for the signal, suddenly discovered urgent business elsewhere. They melted back into the throng with remarkable speed for beings their size. "Med station is 2 levels down," Arya added, finally glancing up for precisely 1.3 seconds. Her gray eyes held all the warmth of a supernova viewed from across the galaxy. "They can regrow that." "Probably. If you ask nicely." The Krelian fled, still screaming. The marketplace had gone silent. 200 beings of 100 species stood frozen, staring at the human who'd just demolished a Krelian enforcer's arm without breaking eye contact with her paperwork. Arya signed the 3rd report, swiped to the 4th. An elderly Throsian merchant, operating a spice stall nearby, spoke first. His voice was barely a whisper, but in the silence it carried. "The humans," he said, his 6 tendrils trembling. "The stories are true." "What stories?" his apprentice asked, a young Throsian who'd never seen a human before today. "That they evolved on a death world. That their planet tried to kill them for 4 million years, and they won." The elder's eye stalks focused on Arya, with something approaching religious awe. That they bonded with predators, creatures that should have eaten them and made them into friends. That their grip strength evolved to climb trees while escaping things with bigger teeth. And that grip can crack stone. But she didn't even look at him, the apprentice whispered. No, the elder agreed. She didn't need to. Humans have something called proprioception. They know where their body parts are without looking. And something called muscle memory. She's done that before. Maybe 100 times before. Arya finished the fourth report, checked the chronometer on her datapad. 8 minutes until departure. She reached down and scratched behind Tovin's auditory ridge. The cub pressed into her touch, purring a sound his species only made for packmates. A station authority officer appeared, hovering uncertainly at the edge of her table. He was Valasian, his blue skin flushed darker with stress. Commander Voss, he began, his voice careful. There was an incident. Self-defense, Arya said without looking up. She tapped her temple, indicating the neural recorder all contractors wore. Full footage available upon request. Aggressor attempted theft of protected fauna. I used minimum necessary force to retrieve the subject. The officer's third eye blinked rapidly. Minimum necessary, his entire arm. Still attached. Arya interrupted. Could have been removed. Wasn't. Minimum necessary. She finished the fifth report, swiped to the sixth. The officer looked at Tovin, then at Arya, then at the trail of greenish blood leading toward the med station. He made a notation on his pad with trembling fingers. I'll file this as resolved. Appreciated. He fled almost as quickly as the pirate had. The marketplace slowly resumed its normal rhythm, though beings gave Arya's table a notably wider berth than before. She finished the remaining reports in peaceful silence, gathered her things, and stood. Tovin immediately scrambled up her leg, his claws finding purchase in the reinforced fabric of her cargo pants, and settled onto her shoulder. Come on, furball, Arya said, her voice soft now, audible only to the cub. We've got a transport to catch. As she walked toward the departure gates, the crowd parted before her like water before a ship's prow. Behind her, the elderly Throsian spoke again to his apprentice, his voice carrying just far enough for others to hear. Remember this day, he said. You witnessed something important. You learned why. Across 1,000 worlds, there is one universal rule that all intelligent species follow. What rule? The apprentice asked. The elder's eye stalks tracked Arya until she disappeared into the crowd. Never, he said quietly, ever threaten a human's bonded companion. They evolved as pack animals, as tribal creatures, as beings who chose loyalty over survival so many times that it became coded into their very genes. He paused, considering. And definitely never do it while they're busy. They find that irritating. The apprentice watched the space where the human had been, processing this information. Finally, he asked, do all humans have that kind of strength? The elder's tendrils rippled in what might have been a laugh or a shudder. All of them. Every single one. They carry the gravity of their death world in their bones. Child, they just choose, most of the time, to be gentle. Why? Because, the elder said, turning back to his spices, anything strong enough to crush stone can also be gentle enough to hold an egg. That's not weakness, that's control. He busied himself with rearranging containers. The truly terrifying thing about humans isn't their strength, it's their restraint. It's that they choose not to use it. Somewhere in the departure terminal, Arya Voss boarded her transport. Tovin curled contentedly around her neck. She pulled out her datapad and opened the next set of reports, her expression already distant with concentration. She had work to do, and 14 star systems between here and home.